Today we are going to discuss about packages and applet. Now the very first question that should come in your mind, that is how they are related. So I will draw this inference how they are related, but before that I will start from the concept of package and then I will move on to the next part, that is applet. So let's start with the concept of package. However, I will skip some of the portion of the package. Next day I will cover it whenever I will take the class on thread. So let's talk about some package. So if you ask me this question, what is this package is all about? I must say that, see, there are folders or directories in our computer, right? And for the sake of classification and accessibility, we will create some specific folders and we will arrange our files in the computer. So the same thing means in Java, we have package for the implementation of the same concept. So in Java, in one word, packages are similar to the folders that we have in our computer, which are mainly used to organize classes and interfaces. So in one word, you can say that package, you can think of it like this. Package is like one container, and within this container, you can put classes and interfaces, right? So this is the very basic concept of package in case of Java. So now the question is, what is the need? Why we have to use this concept of package? So basically, package helps us to write better and manageable code by preventing name conflicts. Now this is the most important thing, that is name conflict prevention. Means name conflict prevention can be achieved by using the concept of package. So now the question is, what is this name conflict is all about? Say for an example, I have one package. Say the name of the package is P1. Always in Java, the name of the package will be provided in lowercase. And say I have another package P2. So these are the two packages. And say in this package, I have one class and name of the class is A. And here I have one class and name of that class is, say, B. Now, if you ask me this question, how to access these classes which is inside the package, then at this point of time, we will use the concept of package name dot class name. So here the package name is P2 and I want to access the class B. So this is the fully qualified path by which I can access the class A and class B, which are existing in package P1 and P2 respectively. Now, what is this name conflict? See, in case of package, it is also possible that within two different packages, we can keep the class with the same name. It is also possible. In the computer also, if we have two different folders, folder X and folder Y, we can keep two files with the same name, say file S and file S. So now how it is possible? So here is the concept of name conflict. So whenever in general we have same class name within one location, then there may be a chance of conflict due to the name. Now in package, what happens? We will access those classes like package name dot class name, package name dot class name. So here, what is the location of a p1 dot a? So basically this class in Java is actually known as right now p1 dot a, and this class is known as p2 dot a. So how package is helping us to prevent name conflict? We can keep classes with the same name within two different packages, and it will not create any conflict due to the same class name. How? Because each and every class will be accessed by the package name in which it belongs to. So this is how the package will avoid the naming conflict. So this is the one of the most significant advantage of package, means why we are using package in Java. So this is one part. So we have other several advantages while using packages, but here today I am not going into that details because we have to understand the concept of applet. Now I will tell you one point from where I will try to relate how the concept of applet is related with the package. See, now if you ask me that how many kinds of packages are there in Java, I will tell you that I can classify package into two part. One is user defined package and another one is inbuilt package. So user defined packages and inbuilt packages. So I'm skipping this portion, but now I will talk about built-in packages. These packages consist of a large number of classes which are a part of Java API. So inbuilt packages are basically container which holds number of classes which belongs to this Java API. Now what are those packages? So most significant inbuilt packages, I can say that the first one is java.lang. Lang stands for language support classes. So classes which defines primitive data types and math operations. So this kind of classes will be held by this package. Then we have another inbuilt package which is java.io. It contains classes for supporting input output operation. So IO stands for input output operation. Also we have java.util. So it contains utility classes, means util stands for utility, which implement data structure like linked list, dictionary. Also util is very much famous because date and time operations, means date and time related classes, they are also held by this util packages. Today I will only talk about two built-in packages, and those two built-in packages are actually helpful in designing this applet concept in Java. So what are those packages? The first package is known as java.applet and the second package is known as java.awt. Today I will discuss about this too. So this java.applet contains classes for creating applets and java.awt abstract window toolkit contains classes for implementing the components of graphical user interfaces like buttons, menus, everything can be implemented by this package. But try to understand one point. Here I have mentioned that whenever I will define one specific class that is existing inside a package, so we will write the package name and then dot, then the class name. But here I am mentioning package name with this dot because here there is no concept of class. Here applet, AWT, both are the packages. So why I'm writing Java and then dot? So here you have to understand one point. Whenever we are dealing with user defined package, then you will write package name and then dot class name. But whenever you are dealing with built-in packages, then this is the fully qualified path name for defining the package. Java dot then the package name. So by visualizing this concept that you have java dot and then package name, you can easily say that okay, these packages are built-in package, so we don't have to create those packages. And then at this point of time we will write the class name that we want to access. So in one word, what is the syntax or what is the fully qualified path name for accessing built-in package? So first you have to write java, then dot, then the package name, then dot, and then you have to write the class name that you want to use in your code. So this is how built-in package will be used in your code. So now today I will discuss about this two built-in packages, but I want to mention one more package which is also very popular in Java, java.net package. So this package is responsible for holding classes which can support networking operations. So any kind of networking activity, it can be performed in Java, you need this package, java.net. And by visualizing this syntax, we can say that it is a built-in package. So now it is just an overview about the package, very basic concept, but today we will concentrate on the concept of applet. So I think it is clear that I will use only two built-in package in order to create a beautiful application which is known as applet in Java. Now the very first question that comes in your mind, what is this applet is all about? See, what is applet if you ask me this question? So I have only one answer. It is a special type of Java program. Why it is a special type of Java program, now you will be able to understand. I will definitely write this code, but you will find that in this code there will be no main class or no main method. So applet program is something which will not use main class or main method for its invocation. So this is the first point. So since it is not using any main class or main method, that's why I'm talking about that this applet, the concept of applet is a something special in Java. So basically in Java, we have two categories of programming. One is application programming and the second one is applet programming. So application based programming means whatever programming we did in the previous classes, those codes are having their main class and main method, so they are the part of application programming. And today we will talk about this applet programming. So now if you ask me this question that okay, how many types of applet programmings are there in Java? We basically have two specific types of applet programming. One is known as local applet and the second one is known as remote applet. So these two kinds of applet programming you can design in case of Java. Now here, before explaining this two, I want to give you one very basic idea about the applet. See what happens. Applet means what? I can say that. Say you are working on a specific machine. Say you have one machine and you are sending some query. So applet is something which is embedded in the web page and it will be transported over the internet. So this is the basic concept of applet. So applet programming always they will be embedded in the web page. Sometimes we have some web page which are having some animated portion. But you have to remember one thing, those animations are static in nature. Means if you see the web page for the first time, whatever animation means whatever numbers are used for sorting purpose, if you open up that web page for the second time, then same animation you will be able to see and the same numbers will be sorted. So whenever in your web page you have some web content which is containing static animation, those are known as applets. Now I'm giving you another example. Whenever you see some ad in the web page, so what will happen? The position of those ads will change, right? But the content of those ad will never change. So this kind of activity is incorporated into the web page. So this kind of ads are basically the application of applets. But whenever your web page is containing any dynamic content, means each time everything is changing, the content of the ad is also changing. So it is not an example of applet. So that's why I was explaining that applets are the programming that will be embedded in the web page, like ad, and they can be transported over the internet. Means whenever you need this web page into your own local machine, this web page is coming. Along with that, this ad is also coming, right? So this is the basic definition of this applet. So whatever ad you will see in the web page, so they are application of applets. So now I'm just showing you one architecture so that you will be able to understand in more details. That is, say you have one machine, say your local computer in which you are working. And in general, this kind of machine is known as client machine. And say you have one remote computer, and say this is known as server machine. Means whenever you send some request and sitting at your own machine and you are sending the request by the browser, then it is going to the server machine. It may be a Google server, anything, and this server will process your request and send you the response, and then you will be able to download whatever you want. So at this point of time, so there should be one internet connection. So here my point is, whenever you are sending some request and you are getting some response from the server, the applet will be transported over the internet. And how they are transported over the internet, only applet code cannot be transported. It will be embedded inside a web page and it will be transported over the internet. And whenever applet is coming from the server machine to your local computer, then this kind of applets are known as remote applet. So this is the basic concept, that what is this remote applet? So remote applet is designed and developed by another developer. Try to understand. It is coming from the server. So this applet is not designed by you. You are just using that applet by sending the request in the server machine, and somebody who has designed this applet, it is coming to your machine. So this is the first point you have to keep in mind regarding remote applet. And it is located or available on a remote computer that is connected to the internet. Means for accessing the remote applet, you need one internet connection. And in order to run the applet stored in the remote computer, our system is connected to the internet, and then we can download or run it. So always for accessing remote applet, you have to download it and then you can use it. So in order to locate and load the remote applet, we must know the applet's address on the web, that is referred to as URL, that is Uniform Resource Locator. I think now this concept is clear. In general, we will search for something using URL, whatever is displayed on the address bar. So for accessing remote applet, actually we need the URL. So whatever content we are extracting from the server machine, and whenever one advertisement is embedded in that content, so they are definitely the concept of remote applet. So that's why I was telling that generally we can define this remote applet as it is something that can be transported over the internet and which is coming from the server, and you have to download it in order to use the applet, right? And it is coming through the web page. Applet will be always embedded in the web page. So this is the basic concept of the remote applet. Now the question is, okay, we understood this is the concept of remote applet. So ma'am, what you are going to do? You are going to display remote applet for us? No, because before learning remote applet, you have to learn local applet too. Now the question is, why should we learn local applet? Because I have clearly mentioned that remote applet is not designed by us. Remote applet is designed by someone else who is working at the server end. So we have no contribution into that applet. So if you want to learn something about applet, so we have to design it. And designing your own applet is possible whenever we are dealing with local applet. So from this discussion, it is clear that local applet is written on your own, and then we will embed it into the web page. The concept is same. So applets are made in order to embed them into the web page. So here why we are accessing local applet, so that we could create the applet and embed it into the web page. So local applet is developed locally and stored in the local system. So just reverse to the remote applet. And a web page does not need to get the information from the internet. This is the most important point. So in order to design or access local applet, we don't need any internet facility. So without any internet facility, we can design this local applet. So this is another important point and another difference between remote applet and local applet. Now we will learn this concept. So try to understand now how I could design this concept. See, from here we know that we have two ends, server end and one your client end. So what I will do in my local machine, I will create two segments. In one segment, I will write the applet code, and in another segment, I will write a code in order to access or in order to execute the applet code. Now, the second question will definitely come in your mind. Okay, we understood that our local machine will be divided into two parts, and in one part, we will write the applet code in order to design some graphical visualization. But in another part, why you need another code? Here, at the beginning of this class, I have clearly mentioned that we don't have the permission for using main class or main method because applet won't use it. So whenever you are not using any main class or main method, then how you can execute it? So here is the point. So this second code is responsible for executing the applet code. So basically for this purpose, we have to write one HTML code, and this HTML code will help us to see the output of the applet code into the browser. So in the application program, the outputs are visible on the console on the black screen. But today we will create one separate browser related interface where we will able to see the outcome of the applet. So in one word, what we are going to do today, we are going to do or we are going to design one applet code which is definitely a local applet. So this is a very important question in your interview, that what is the difference between local applet and remote applet. So these are the very basic difference. But in one word, what is applet? The definition of both the applet is clear. It is very simple. Applet is something which is incorporated in the web page and transported over the internet if it is a remote applet. If not, then it will be designed in the same machine. First, we have to design the applet and then we have to embed it into the web page. So this is the concept. Now, how to design it? This is the most important part. So this is our first phase. So at the beginning of the class, I have mentioned that We will design one applet program which will be a application of inbuilt package. So what inbuilt package we should use? We should use two inbuilt package. One is java.applet and another one is java.awt. This two package we want to use. Now the question is how to use or how to incorporate this inbuilt package. So to understand this thing, first you have to ask yourself one question, that is why I am using these packages. The answer should be very clear in your mind. The packages are the holders or the containers and they will hold some classes. So whenever I am dealing with applet package, which is a inbuilt package, so it will be treated as java.applet. Definitely this applet is holding some class that I'm going to use in my program, and that class name is applet. So in order to design applet code, we have to use this class applet. Now, how to access this class? So the formula was very clear. That is, first we have to write the package name and then dot the class name. This is how we can access the class which is inside a particular package. So here the package name is java.applet. This is the package name. And what is the class name? Here class name is the applet. And just see one thing, in Java, I have mentioned that all the predefined classes will start with uppercase and name of the package starts with the lowercase. So this is known as fully qualified path name. But there is one question that you can ask me. How many class a package can hold? See, a package can hold many classes. And at some point of time, we need all the classes. So at that point of time, you can write this thing, just name of the package, then dot star. Star means I need all the classes that exist inside the package. Now, I am going to use this package in my own code. So how to fetch this package in my current working directory? So for that purpose, we have to use one keyword which is known as import. So import keyword is used to bring the package or the class which is held by this package into our own working directory. So how we should fetch this package? So we have to write import space java.applet. This is a package name and what class we need? Applet. Semicolon. And then from AWT, what I am expecting? From AWT, Abstract Window Toolkit will hold many graphical activity related classes. So at that point of time, I can write dot star, but I want to show you what kind of classes it is holding. First class that it is holding, it is known as graphics. Why we need this class, I will show it to you. And also, if we want to color some object, that color class is also held by this AWT package. So this AWT package is responsible for holding these two classes. One is graphics and another one is color. So these are the class name. So this is known as fully qualified path name, and also I have to use this import keyword in order to bring the packages and the classes in our own working directory, in our current working directory. So this is the first step of designing any applet program. So we need this much amount of inbuilt packages. Now I will give you a very good application of inheritance. So whenever we have learned inheritance, you never ask me this question, what is the real life application of inheritance? So now I will show you what is the real life application of inheritance. Here This applet is basically a superclass which is already defined. What I will do, I will create my own subclass, say A1, and what I will do, I will extend this superclass. So I will write extends applet. We know why we need this syntax. Class A1 is the subclass which is extending a superclass, and the superclass name is applet. So what is the difference here? We don't have to define our superclass. This superclass is already defined inside the package java.applet. But try to understand here there is a very good significance of access modifier. Means since our superclass is not there, it is already not defined. So always we have to use public access modifier before this class name. Why? Because try to understand here there will be no main class. Means I am not going to execute this piece of code here. So I will write another code in another notepad from which I will try to access this code. So always this piece of code should be having this public access modifier. So whatever I write over here, whatever class, whatever method I will write, they should have public access modifier. Otherwise, I will not fetch this piece of code into another part of the program because I have to write another part in order to execute this code. So this is the first application. So this is the basic diagram how your applet programming will look like. Always you have to create one subclass and you have to extend the superclass applet. Now inside applet, what we are going to do? See, this applet programming are basically meant for designing some diagrams, designing some graphical related activity. You can draw a circle, rectangle, line, you can draw some string, anything you can do. So for that purpose, for drawing purpose, you have to use one method which is known as paint method. But this paint method is already defined. So we have to write public. This method should be public. Return type of this paint method is void since the paint method is already defined previously. So void is the return type, it is already mentioned. And here now you will find one beautiful application of object reference. So what do you mean by object reference? I have mentioned that whenever we create any object like this, and if I am not using this part, if I am only using this part, that is class name, and then just the name of the object. So at this point of time, it will act like object reference. So here I will use this class, graphics class. This is the class name and I will create one object reference of this class. So we know that there will be some methods. I have mentioned whenever we were learning this keyword that there will be some methods in Java where we can pass object reference of a class as a parameter. So here this is another application. So paint is such a method where object reference of graphics class is passed as a parameter. So now we have to draw some diagram. So for drawing purpose, we have to use some predefined method. Now, what kind of object we are going to draw? According to that, we have to mention the method name. So if I want to draw a rectangle, I will write draw rect. And since it's a method name, so I have to use this symbol. Now here you have to observe one point carefully. Whenever I am talking about predefined class in Java, it starts with capital letter. Whenever I am talking about predefined method in Java, it starts with small letter. But if that method is having two words, draw, rect, then the first word starts with small letter. However, the second word will start with capital letter. This thing you have to keep in mind. So draw rect is the method by which we can draw the rectangle. Rect is a short form of rectangle. But what is the rule of Java? In order to invoke some method, we have to write object name or object reference name dot method name. So here G is the object reference name. So what I will write, G dot draw rect. Now the second portion. In order to draw one rectangle, how many coordinates we have to mention? Like this, x1, y1, x2, y2, like this. So how many coordinates we need? According to mathematics, if we know the two diagonal points, then it will be enough. Any two diagonal points. So basically, how many points we need? X1, y1 and say x2, y2 like this. Any two diagonal points. So here I will pass say x1, y1, x2, y2. And here this points I am giving randomly. And you have to remember one point, this top left corner for a computer graphics, it's a 0, 0 part. And this is the x-axis, means from left to right top, it is the x-axis, and the y-axis is from top left to left bottom. So 0, 0 starts from this top portion. Generally in coordinate geometry, our 0, 0 starts with left bottom. But here 0, 0 starts with top corner. So accordingly, now you can imagine 10 means 10 to x-axis and 20 to y-axis, 52 again x-axis and 62 y-axis. Means if this is the computer screen, this is 0, 0 and this is your x and this is your y. So whenever I'm talking about 10, 20, 10 and then 20, say this point, and then I'm talking about 50 and 60, then 50 and then 60, say this point over here. So this point. So these are the two diagonal points and we will have a rectangle over here. So this is how this calculation will take place. Now the point you have to remember, if you want to draw another diagram like oval, line, you have to write it here. Everything should be written inside the paint method. So if you want to draw a line, what you should write? Draw line, right? Draw line. Two words, L should be in capital. And then for drawing line, I think there is no confusion. For drawing any line, we need x1, y1 and x2, y2. So there is no confusion. So I will use this coordinate as x1, y1 and x2, y2. Any value you can put. So these are the arbitrary value and always we have to write g dot draw line. So this is how your applet code will look like. I will modify this code further, but this is the basic applet code. Now this should be your file name. So I will save this file with the name of the subclass, that is one.java. So this is one part. I have to design another part. So this part is totally designed in order to see the output in the browser. So I will design one HTML code. So this is known as tags of the HTML code, and whenever you are writing one tag, just like bracket, you have opening bracket and closing bracket. For HTML also, you should close this tag. So this is the closing tag. Now, in order to write applet code, here you have to write another tag where you have to write applet code is equal to. Now here you have two choice. Either you can use double quotes or you can avoid them. And here you have to write that name of the file in which you have your applet code, that is a1.java. But here you have another choice. After compiling this code, you know that you will get one dot class file. Also, you can write here a1 dot class is according to your choice. So applet code is equal to, you have to put here which piece of applet code you want to execute. So this is the applet code I want to execute. Now there is one part, the output will be displayed in the separate screen. So you have to tell the program what will be the size of that display window. So height and width you must fix up. Say I'm giving 300 pixels. And since it is an applet code, so you have to also close this tag. So this is how HTML code will look like. It's a very basic code. You can modify it further. And now here the point is, what should be the name of this HTML file? Any name you can give. So here I'm choosing the same location, desktop, for saving this file, and you can give any name. But extension should be .html. This thing you have to remember. So here the name of the file is AAA.html. Now, how to execute the applet code? So here my code is in the desktop. First we have to compile the code, right? Why this warning is coming, I will tell you. So this is the code. Now, since this code is not having any main method or main class, I will not be able to execute it. I cannot write Java space A1. So up to compilation, it is done. Now, how to execute the applet code? So for executing the applet code, you have to use one keyword, and the keyword is applet viewer. Means I want to view the applet. So that's why the keyword is applet viewer space the HTML file name. The HTML file name is this one, AAA.html. So this is how you can execute your applet code, and don't try to maximize this one. Whatever thing you are getting, it is the original size, right? Here, what is this 300 height and 300 width? See here, this is the size. Width is 300 and height is also 300. You can change this one, right? So this is your rectangle, and this is the line that you are going to display using the applet code. And see, this is a special window where you will find the symbol of Java also. But remember one thing, see here, you will not be able to write anything in this window unless you cross this one. So this is due to the applet life cycle. I will explain it to you. So this is the first thing you have to remember. So this is how your applet code will execute. But here the point is, whenever we are executing the applet code, you will see that the background of the applet is not colored, and also the component that we have displayed, they are not colored. Now here the question is how to color the components and also how to color the background of this kind of display. So now come back to this code. Here the first question is how to color the components. Now if you want to color the components, you have two alternatives. One is set color and another one is fill color. Now, when to use which one? It is important. Now see, fill color concept is applicable when you have rectangle, when you have oval, then only you can color the closed boundary. But whenever you have line, there is no closed boundary, so only you can set the color of the line. But here you have to understand one programming technique, that is, say I am just writing set color, means I want to set some color. I don't know what color to set. So I will use what? I will use this color class. So now we are going to see the application of this color class. So here I have to write color dot and then the color name. Say I'm just writing the color name as red, right? And since set color is a method, so here I have to write g dot means object reference dot set color. Now the main topic of discussion is where should we write this set color. So what will happen if you write set color before each and every object, then each and every object will get colored by this same color. And set color means it is responsible for coloring the outlines only. See, each and every object will have the same color. But if I need different colors, so what I will do, I will write this same piece of code before each and every object. Say I want to color this rectangle by red and I want to color this line with blue. So at that point of time, so you will get this two different kinds of color, right? Now let's discuss about the next part, fill color means fill rect or how to fill a enclosed area. So now first in order to fill some enclosed area, the rule is first you have to set the color, then you have to draw the object, and then you can try to fill it up. And for filling up any enclosed area, you should write g dot fill, and then you have to write the object name or the enclosed area name which you want to fill up. Now for filling up this rectangle, you are going to actually fill up this area. So use the same coordinate. Then only that particular rectangle will be filled up. If you are going to fill any oval, so you have to write draw oval and then fill oval. So this is how it will work. But the rule is same. First set the color, then draw the object and then try to fill up the enclosed area. See, this is the output. Your rectangle is filled up with red color. Now, if you ask me this question, that is, can we do something like this that border is with some different color and the body is with different color? Technically, yes, but conceptually, no. Means whenever you write set color, so whichever color you are using over here, the same color will be used to fill up this one. So what you can do, you can draw one rectangle with the border only with no color inside, and then you can draw another rectangle which is filled up with some color. Then only you will find that the border is with another color and the area is colored with something else. This is the concept, so you can do many experiments with this, but this is the basics. But here the question is how to color the background of an applet. So, apart from this paint method, we have one beautiful method in Applet which is known as init method. And since this method is already defined, the access specifier is public and the return type is already defined. So that is public void init. And here we don't have to use any parameter. So this init method is responsible for setting the background color of an applet. Now you can ask me this question, why not inside the paint? So you have to understand one property. In the entire applet life cycle, how many times we will color the background means a person can born only once in the life. So init method is something which is used to initiate the applet. So inside init method you have to write some activity which you need only once in the lifetime. So setting the background color we need only once, and above that we will draw different kinds of objects. So drawing different kinds of object means we are invoking the paint method. So paint method can be invoked repeated number of times, but init method will be invoked only once. So I want to set background and I want to color it. Yellow. This one is a good color, green. So this is how we can set the background color. But here we don't have any object reference. So that's why we don't have to write object reference dot the method name. Here straight away we can write the method name. Let's see what will happen. So this is how it will look like. See, this is how we can set the background color. So I think now you can experiment with this code, but see, whenever I used to give some assignment, in case of applet, in the class, I will draw one picture, which is very difficult to draw. The picture will look like this. Draw oval, another draw oval, draw rect, and this one is draw arc, right? This one is draw arc, this one is draw arc, and this one is draw arc. Now the question is how to draw arc. See, whenever you are drawing a arc, draw arc. So at this point of time, you have to realize how many coordinates you need for drawing any arc of this kind or this kind. Here for drawing any arc, basically you need two angles and you need two endpoints. So basically you need 6 coordinate for drawing any arc. So this thing you have to remember. So now how to draw arc? So at this point of time you can write it like this in 90, 150, 6 coordinates. 30, 30, 30, say 270 like this. So these are the angles starting and ending angles, and these are the x1 y1 and this is your x2 y2. So now you will ask me this question that why drawing this kind of activity is very difficult, because you should have a very good knowledge of coordinate, because this is where your 0 0 is starting. So see, you have to calculate the area of this circle, means what should be the coordinate of this circle. Then you have to design this two circle in such a way so that they should fall inside, and then you have to find out the what is the middle position, and then you have to draw the rectangle similarly. And also we have the provision of draw oval, so there is no provision of drawing circle. So how you could make a draw oval? So I have only one tip for you. For drawing oval, again you have to supply x1 y1 and x2 y2, major axis and minor axis. So for drawing a oval means a round, so whatever coordinate you are giving, no issues, but keep this last two coordinate as same, this value. If you put this last two value as same, then it will be a neat circle. And then according to the coordinate, the size of the oval will also differ. Let me show this one. G dot say draw oval. So draw circle is not there in case of applet. And which coordinate should I pass? So it is just a trial and error method. So last two coordinates, if you fix this up, then we have a hope to get a perfect round. Yes, I've got this one. So now what we can do, if you want to draw another oval, no issues. You have to write this syntax again, because for drawing the face, you have to draw basically three ovals. So at that point of time, you have to draw one big oval also. So for drawing a big oval, what you can do, you can change the coordinate accordingly. So let me draw the arc first. So for drawing any arc, so this is the syntax, draw arc, and then you have to put over here six coordinates. So first two will be the angle. So 90 degree, 150 degree. So you can write minus 180, plus 180, anything you can write. Plus 180 means 180, and minus 180 you have to write minus 180. And then you can put the x1, y1 and the x2, y2 portion. Yes, this is the arc. So now you have to rotate this arc in such a way so that it could be like smiley face. And here in this diagram, you have one, two, three, and four. Four arcs are there. In order to draw this kind of smiling arc, you need two coordinates, minus 180 and plus 180. You can use them. So you can experiment with this. And also, if you want to write something, then this is how you can write something in applet. G dot draw string. And for drawing string, you have to remember one point. Within double quotes, you write whatever you want to write. And then use comma. And then use the starting coordinate from where your string will start displaying. Say 20, 40. So you need only x1, y1 for displaying any string. See my applet program. And why it is displaying here? See, the coordinate is 20, 40. 20 means this is your screen, 20, and then say 40. So at this position, you will get the output. So this is how your output will look like. So this is how you can execute your applet code.